Kindness is one of the most beautiful reflections of God's character in our lives. Every smile we share, every hand we extend, and every word of encouragement we speak is a seed of His love planted in the world. Yet, while kindness is a gift from heaven, it is not meant to be used without wisdom. Just as fire can warm a home or burn it down, kindness can heal or harm depending on how it is directed. When kindness flows without discernment, it risks being wasted, abused, or even turned into a source of exhaustion. The truth is, kindness was never meant to make us weak or voiceless. God calls us to be strong and wise stewards of the love He placed within us. Imagine kindness as a priceless jewel. A jewel shines brightest when it is cared for and protected, but if it is thrown carelessly into the hands of those who do not value it, it quickly loses its worth. In the same way, kindness without boundaries often invites disrespect, while kindness with discernment multiplies blessing and impact.
Even Jesus, the perfect model of love, demonstrated balance in His kindness. He welcomed children, healed the broken, and fed the multitudes. But He also walked away from toxic crowds, rebuked hypocrisy, and set aside time to rest. His example shows us that true kindness is not about saying yes to everything. It is about living with compassion, truth, and wisdom. When we learn to follow this pattern, our kindness becomes a steady light, not a flickering flame. Kindness is one of the most precious gifts God has entrusted to us. It is a divine reflection of His boundless love, expressed through our words, attitudes, and actions in daily life. Yet, just as fire can either warm a home or burn it down, kindness can bring healing and light, or, if misused, it can leave wounds and exhaustion. When generosity flows without the guidance of discernment, it becomes like a river that bursts its banks. Instead of watering the land, it destroys everything in its path.
True kindness goes beyond simply performing good deeds. It is an art, a discipline of the heart, requiring balance, maturity, and spiritual wisdom. Picture kindness as a flourishing garden, with you as its caretaker. Every seed of love, every word of encouragement, and every act of compassion you sow is a visible extension of God's grace in your life. But even the most beautiful garden, if left unprotected, will be invaded by weeds, pests, or people who take without ever contributing. Without healthy boundaries, the fruits of your labor are quickly spoiled. God does not call you to be a powerless or exploited gardener. Instead, He invites you to build a protective fence of wisdom around your kindness. This fence is not meant to close your heart, but to preserve its strength, ensuring that your compassion bears fruit for the right people, at the right time, and for the right reasons. Kindness without boundaries becomes a burden that drains your joy. But kindness guided by discernment becomes a source of inspiration and strength for others.
One of the most common misunderstandings is to equate kindness with constant compliance. Many believe that to be kind means never refusing anyone. But in reality, endless agreement only feeds unhealthy expectations. The more you say yes out of fear or guilt, the more others will demand, often without gratitude. And when you finally decide to set limits, these same people may try to manipulate you, making you feel guilty for protecting yourself. However, boundaries do not cancel kindness. They safeguard it. Proverbs 23 verse 9 reminds us not to waste wisdom on those who mock it. Likewise, kindness should not be wasted where it is despised, but invested where it can grow and multiply. Some people do not recognize kindness as a gift, but rather treat it as a right they are owed. They exploit the generosity of others, attempting to control through guilt or emotional pressure. Yet God never asked you to become a slave to exploitation. Even Jesus, the perfect example of love, demonstrated healthy boundaries. He withdrew from the crowds when necessary to pray and rest. He openly rebuked those who tried to test or trap him. He showed compassion, but he never allowed his mission or his love to be manipulated. His life teaches us that authentic kindness does not mean blind tolerance. It means loving with wisdom, truth, and strength.
True kindness is not just about always giving. It is also about knowing when to step back. If your kindness constantly leaves you drained, anxious, or feeling empty, that is a sign something is wrong. Genuine kindness should bring peace, not exhaustion. When kindness is poured out without appreciation, it becomes like a candle burning at both ends. It shines for a while, but quickly burns out. The Bible reminds us in Galatians 6:9 that doing good is never in vain, but it must be done with wisdom, at the right time, and in the right way. Think of your kindness as a spring of fresh water. It can refresh hearts, restore hope, and bring life to many. But if people only come to drink without respect or gratitude, that spring will either dry up or become bitter. Even Jesus, the perfect example of love, withdrew to rest and renew his strength. He showed us that self-care is not selfish. It is necessary to remain strong in our mission. So if you feel used or undervalued, ask yourself, do these people truly value my kindness, or are they only interested in what they can take from me?
Setting healthy boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you wise. Just as a garden thrives when it is fenced and cared for, your kindness needs protection so it can continue to bear good fruit. Those who genuinely appreciate your kindness will treat it as a blessing, not as something they are entitled to. Boundaries are not walls that block love. They are safeguards that ensure love is given and received in a way that honors God and respects your dignity. True kindness also means not ignoring what is wrong. Ephesians 5:11 tells us to expose works of darkness, not to silently support them. Sometimes kindness means speaking the truth with love, even if it is uncomfortable. The Apostle Paul showed this when he corrected Peter. His words were firm, but they were also rooted in love and in the desire to restore what was right. Love and truth cannot be separated. Together, they form the foundation of authentic kindness.
Forgiveness is an essential part of kindness, but it does not mean allowing people to keep hurting you. Joseph forgave his brothers for betraying him, but before trusting them again, he tested their hearts to see if they had truly changed. In the same way, we are called to forgive as Christ forgave us, but also to exercise discernment. Forgiveness brings healing, but wisdom protects us from repeated harm. You are precious and irreplaceable in God's eyes. Isaiah 43:4. The Lord himself declares that you are honored and loved not because of what you do, but because of who you are in him. This truth is vital to remember in a world where people may try to define your worth by how much you give, how available you are, or how willing you are to meet their demands. Your value is not determined by the approval of others. It is rooted in God's unchanging love. That is why you must never allow yourself to be treated like a doormat. Sometimes the most loving and faithful choice is to create distance. Abraham and Lot provide us with a powerful example, Genesis 13. Their herdsmen were constantly quarreling and tension filled the land. Instead of clinging to conflict, Abraham chose wisdom and peace by offering Lot the first choice of land. Abraham's decision to separate was not born out of bitterness, but out of love for peace. In the same way, walking away from toxic relationships does not mean you have failed in love. It often means you are exercising wisdom and guarding the peace that God has placed in your heart. Kindness is a treasure, a reflection of God's grace at work within you. Yet every treasure must be protected or it risks being squandered. Setting limits is not a sign of selfishness. It is a declaration that you respect the value God has placed on your life. Even Jesus, the embodiment of perfect love, lived with boundaries. He welcomed the crowds, healed the sick, and spoke words of hope to multitudes. But he also withdrew to lonely places to pray. Luke 5:16. He rebuked the Pharisees when they tried to twist his mission. Matthew 23. And he walked away when people sought to kill him before his appointed time. John 8:59. His love was always guided by wisdom and truth. When you give kindness with discernment, you not only protect yourself, but also honor God. Discernment allows your compassion to remain fruitful rather than being drained by those who seek only to take. Proverbs 4:23 reminds us to guard our hearts above all else, for everything we do flows from it. If you constantly give without wisdom, your kindness can turn into exhaustion, resentment, or even bitterness. But when guided by God's Spirit, your kindness becomes like living water, refreshing, healing, and pointing others back to Him. Remember this: God never called you to be a people pleaser. Pleasing everyone often leads to compromise, anxiety, and a fractured spirit. But pleasing God brings peace, strength, and joy that lasts. Romans 12:2 calls us not to conform to the patterns of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. That renewal helps us discern when to say yes with love and when to say no with wisdom.
If you feel your kindness is being abused, do not fear setting limits. Healthy boundaries are not barriers to love. They are safeguards that keep love pure and meaningful. Those who truly love you will respect your boundaries, because respect is the soil in which love can grow. Forgiveness, too, plays an essential role. Joseph forgave his brothers, but he did not restore trust immediately. He tested their hearts first to ensure they had changed. Genesis 42-45. Forgiveness brings healing, but discernment preserves your future. Living this way ensures that your kindness does not flicker out like a weak flame, but shines steadily like a lasting light that glorifies God. Jesus himself said in Matthew 5:16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your kindness, guided by wisdom, becomes that light. It is not about being everything to everyone. It is about being faithful to the one who called you.
So hold your head high, and remember, you are not called to live in chains of guilt or exploitation. You are called to walk in love, wisdom, and truth. When you protect your kindness, you protect the very gift God gave you to reflect His heart to the world. Live with courage, walk with discernment, and let your kindness remain a powerful testimony of God's grace, a flame that will never burn out, but will illuminate the path for others to see Him. Beloved, remember this truth: you are not ordinary. You are a treasure in the hands of God. In Isaiah 43:4, the Lord declares, "You are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you." These words are not mere poetry. They are a reminder that your life has meaning, that you carry eternal value, and that you were never created to be trampled upon or treated as worthless. God placed a light within you, and that light is meant to shine, not to be extinguished by manipulation, abuse, or ungrateful hearts. There are seasons in life when the greatest act of love is knowing when to walk away. Like Abraham and Lot, sometimes separation is the only way to preserve peace. Letting go of toxic or harmful relationships does not prove a lack of love, it demonstrates wisdom. God never called you to chain yourself to those who seek your destruction. He called you to walk in peace, in truth, and in freedom. Kindness is a jewel, but every jewel must be guarded. Setting boundaries does not make you selfish, it makes you wise. It shows that you honor the value God placed upon your life. Even Jesus, the very embodiment of love, lived with discernment. He welcomed the crowds, healed the sick, and spoke life to the weary. Yet he also withdrew to pray, rebuked those who misused Scripture, and refused to let his love be twisted into weakness. If Christ himself walked in wisdom, then we, as his followers, are called to do the same.
Never forget, God did not call you to please everyone. Pleasing people leads only to weariness and compromise, but pleasing God fills your life with peace and strength. Proverbs 4:23 tells us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." If your kindness is constantly poured into the wrong hands, your heart will run dry. But when guided by discernment, your kindness becomes like living water, refreshing, healing, and pointing others back to God. Do not be afraid to set boundaries. Those who truly love you will honor them, because respect is the soil where genuine love grows. Forgiveness is always essential, but forgiveness does not mean blind trust. Joseph forgave his brothers, yet he tested their hearts before reconciling with them. Forgiveness heals the past, but wisdom protects the future.
So I urge you, lift your head high, walk with dignity, and never be ashamed of protecting the treasure God placed within you. Let your kindness shine not as a weak flame that burns out under pressure, but as a steady and lasting light that glorifies God. Jesus said in Matthew 5:16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." When your kindness is guided by wisdom, your life becomes that very light, strong, unwavering, and radiant. Live with courage, love with discernment, and let your kindness be a testimony that points others to the glory of God, a flame that will never die out, but will shine for eternity.